With service second to none, Deary Brothers Lincoln of Iowa City has been earning the business of customers in Johnson County and the surrounding area since 2010. Deary Brothers Lincoln is a full-service dealership offering new Lincoln custom orders with a dedicated sales, service, and parts department. They are proud to be here for you. As a happy customer, the entire Deary staff was unbelievable to work with. They found the vehicles our family was looking for, and we will definitely be doing business with them in the future. Check out Deary Brothers Lincoln on Facebook and follow them on Twitter at Deary Bros. Hello, and welcome to the Leave Your Legacy podcast, a podcast series where we will discuss how each and every one of us impact the world around us. I'm your host, Kenyon Murray, and on today's episode, we have the epitome of hard work and betting on yourself, my friend and Iowa teammate, Darryl Moore. Darryl, thanks for joining us.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best part about doing this podcast is, like we were discussing earlier, just giving people maybe a little bit of a glimpse of how you got to where you are. And one, you're a beloved Iowa basketball player. You're a great teammate, kick my butt a lot in practice. And it's like, Joe, hey, D, today, like calm down, man. Like you gonna make us, Coach Davis gonna make us run today because of that. But I think your story is really, really unique in how you ended up in Iowa City. So from Chicago, tell our listeners, our viewers, how did you end up at Iowa coming from Chicago?
So it's a very unique story, very interesting. And it's more interesting the older I get when I think back on it. So, playing basketball, Chicago Public League, had a pretty good career, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Did well, led the conference in scoring and everything. 0 offers, really.
Wow.
Like 0. So I figured it was over.
Right.
I'm just going to go to school. Maybe. I was thinking about going to trade school. I applied to a few colleges. My brother's been an electrician for 25 years.
Right.
So thought about doing that. So the reason I applied to Iowa is because it was a day out of school.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you apply, you get to go on this one-day trip to the University of Iowa. True story. You get to go on this trip. So me and some of my buddies like, yeah, let's apply. We're going to go. And we went, and it was done. Had a good time. Yeah. And it was done. Orientation comes around. Summer. Hey, Darryl, we're going up to orientation. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, me and my brother, we're going to go to this party at DePaul. And we're going to hang out. So they go to orientation. Okay. Come around again. Yeah. Well, we leave for school, here in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Do you want to go?
Wow.
At that point, I'm like, oh, those options were kind of running out. So I talked to my mom, and she went and got me a trunk. We filled the trunk up. I still have the trunk to this day. People make fun of me. It's hilarious. Yeah. I got this big black trunk, like a treasure chest.
Yeah, yeah.
And we filled it up. I hopped in a car with a buddy, and we drove up here. Kenyon, I had no classes.
Are you serious?
No, so I was accepted. I accepted everything, my financial aid, everything. I had no classes.
Yeah.
My buddy who I came with, Donald, you know him.
Yeah, yeah.
He introduced me to his financial advisor.
Yep.
And he became my academic advisor.
Yeah.
And he became my academic advisor, and that's how I got my class. Out of my classes manually.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had no intentions of playing basketball. I thought it was over.
Right.
I had no idea what a walk-on was.
Yeah.
I had no idea about any of that stuff. I thought you had to be recruited.
Yeah.
And honestly, King, I didn't know how hard it was to get recruited until I started training kids.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard to play high-level basketball, or college basketball in general.
Absolutely. And there's so much more now that's put on the kid and the parent, too. And we can definitely get into how recruiting has changed for that. But, I know you grew up in the Robert Taylor homes, right? And so what was it about growing up there that you were like, I gotta do something. I gotta get out of here. I gotta do better. What was it that really motivated you to do something bigger than maybe what you'd seen growing up around you?
So for me, it wasn't necessarily what I wanted, because as a kid, you don't really know. A lot of times you don't know what you want. For me, it was what I didn't want. I didn't want to continue living that lifestyle and living in that type of environment. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Right. But I knew I didn't want to be there. Right. And, a lot of summers we were, my sister and I, we would go spend the summers with my aunt and uncle in the suburbs and things like that. And I really liked it. Right. Like, this environment is nice.
Yeah.
So I figured if I can get into an environment like that, then maybe I'm doing something to get out these. Because I lived my life in fear.
Yeah.
Kenyon, I played basketball in fear.
Yeah.
Like, I was literally told, if you score another basket, I'm going to kick your you-know-what. It's
Wow.
by an adult.
Wow.
You know what I
That's
mean?
crazy.
You know how many times we got chased out of gyms? I got an article in the Sun-Times I was just showing somebody. I hit a buzzer shot against Inglewood. And it's for the conference championship. So we're rivals, basketball and gang-wise. Kenyon, we had to get a police escort out of there.
Wow. That's wild.
And this is high school basketball.
Well, I remember recruiting Chicago, and like the Chicago public school games were always at like the middle, like 2:30, 3 o'clock. They were never in the evening. So I always had to come in, and it's interesting because even as a recruiter, like I couldn't just go anywhere. Like I literally, we know Mac Irvin, the godfather of basketball in Chicago. Like I literally would call Mac and be like, "Hey, I want to come, check this kid out. Like, am I good?" And he's like, "Yeah, you good." And like like you said, that kind of stuff I saw. But yeah, man, that's crazy. And definitely something that people don't understand who haven't been in the inner city and that kind of stuff too, man. But that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, so that really shaped me just in terms of having no fear when it comes to playing, like physicality. That's Chicago basketball.
Yeah.
So that never, even though I was never a big guy, that part never, you can't back down there. Because I'm telling you, if you back down on the court, those consequences can lead to off the court too.
Right.
Because what they say, if I can punk you, right? That's the word people use, right?
Yeah.
They'll punk you off the court too.
Absolutely.
Right? So it doesn't stop.
And it's crazy. Like that's the one thing, and I know we're talking like old school stuff, but like that's the one thing. Like I feel like even with Chris and Keegan, I feel like they missed out on because that's where we learn how to play. Like I remember when I first started playing basketball as an 8th grader, I sucked.
Eighth grade?
Yeah, 8th grade, dude.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, eighth grade. I wanted to play my 7th grade year, but I had a hernia that needed surgery, so I didn't play, and then got into it my 8th grade year. And the crazy thing about that is I was coming off a broken leg. Like I had broke my ankle, and I'm like, man, am I going to be healed? But yeah, I started playing in 8th grade and had a decent year, but then like, I'm like, okay, I want to be better. So I would go to the park and play with wait for the dudes to get off of work at 5 and play against like 40-year-old dudes, man. Get my butt handed to me. But like that's the one thing, like you're saying, like you brought that to Iowa when you came as a walk-on, and really what got you noticed for that. But that's just wild, man. I think the kids you train kids now, and it's like they don't understand what it took for us to get to this point.
And that's the thing. I try to teach what it takes. Kids come in and they say, "Hey, I want to play college ball," or even further, "I want to play Division I ball," right? And I say, "Hey, it takes the words I use. They want dogs,
right?
They don't want soft players. They want toughness. They want dogs. They want people that can rebound through tough times. So if you make a mistake or something doesn't go your way, how are you going to rebound from that? How are you going to react to that? And they want people with heart. It's not all about talent. It's a lot of people with talent with not heart and don't have heart. So I try to, because I've been there, fortunately, I've been there, luckily I've been there. Yeah. I try to explain to them a lot of times what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
And it's tough. A lot of times it has to do with exposure. I didn't have that exposure.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the reasons why I wasn't recruited out of high school, because I didn't have that exposure. You know, I didn't play AU ball. I didn't do any camps. I just showed up for my high school games and that's it. And played around the city, which is another
a whole other deal. Yeah.
But the talent level there was really high.
Yeah. Like, even in that, like you saying, playing around the city, like you had to like pick and choose where you probably went and played pickup ball at, right? Like, I mean, and you probably rolled pretty deep.
So it's interesting. So for me, where I grew up in the Robert Taylor homes, it's a lot of basketball players there.
Right.
I mean, high schools recruited there all the time. High school, right?
Okay.
Recruited.
Yeah.
So if the kids from my neighborhood stayed in my neighborhood, King, and we had some state
championships
at my high school. But everybody came in. King came in. Simeon came in. Whitney Young came in, and they took all those players out.
Wow.
So we had talent there, but we had some old school guys. Frankly, we had some drug dealers too. So they would just take us around the city and say they knew the spots where to go, because it's not like we would go by ourselves. They knew where to go.
Right.
So they would take us there, and and we would play. But no, you couldn't go anywhere to play. You have to know somebody,
bro. You just like it's crazy. Like I love you. Like I genuinely love you. Like we've been friends. The comment you just made about drug dealers, same thing in BC, in Battle Creek, where I was from, right? Like a lot of my teammates were wrapped up into that stuff. I showed that I had potential to get out of there, and literally it was a couple of drug dealers was like, yo, like nobody will mess with you. Like I got your back. You know, there might have been some cash exchange here or there for some shoes or this, that, and the other thing. But those are like we talk about like OGs in the neighborhood. It's like, okay, they can see like, okay, this kid's got it. And I think that's really like how a lot of us stayed safe, how a lot of us got through it, you know, when our family struggled financially, you know, and I needed something, like those were the dudes. Like, even though they might have been doing things that were illegal, but they did look out for the young bloods coming up. And yeah, dude, that's a story that I can talk about all the time.
All day, because nobody bothered me and my brother. And just like you said, hey, don't mess with these guys. You know, and because of that, I can go, or me and my brother, we can go to a bunch of different areas and neighborhoods to play. Because, you know, we were ball players. We were doing something positive. We were doing good in school. And, you know, we were fairly, you know, good kids.
Yeah. I mean, because, that's the thing, too. Don't let it get twisted. You're a good student, too. I mean, one of the reasons why when you applied, you got in Iowa. So, exactly. I mean, you had it going on. So let's go back to how you were found, because I remember before you joined the Gray team, we would always go, well, we probably would have got in trouble if Coach Davis knew, but we would go over and play the field house was like it was, I think Sports Illustrated labeled it like the best pickup basketball game.
I remember that.
On campus. And we would go after practices to go over and play. And everybody like talking about Darryl, like, okay, like then you see you flying through the air, dunking on somebody or whatever. It's like, yo, like, yeah, he needs to play. So who was it that came to you and kind of got you to, convinced you to come out for the Gray squad?
So it's interesting. Rick Moss was the coach. You played for Rick. And so it was some guys there. Jim Bartles was there. A few other guys. I forget who was there, but I know for sure Jim was there. And Rick came to me after, you know, at the field house, you sitting around, you shooting the breeze, you talking stuff. And he's like, introduced himself to me and said, hey, if you can play like this for, you know, no stakes on the table. He's like, just imagine what you can do if you play, you know, for something. He's like, I think you can play for us. And he meant in a walk-on capacity, but that's the way he framed it. He's like, I think you can play for us because of the effort I was given. And I mean, I tell my kids all the time, I gave the best effort. I gave my best effort no matter, the field house didn't matter to me. I gave the same effort in the field house that I gave in Carver Hawkeye Arena. And I think that's what he saw. But this is what I didn't know. So he's the one that approached me, but Jim Bartles is the one that sent him over to me.
Oh, gotcha.
And Jim told me that story later. And I was like, wow.
No, it's crazy, man. You were, and Michelle jokes about this too, because like when I was playing, I haven't played in about 6 years, but when I was playing, she's like, every game is like the national championship. Like you play so hard and you play through injury and there's nothing on the stake. But it's like, that's how you always played. That's how you were brought up. You know, you had to bring it every single time. And even though my body couldn't do what my mind wanted to do, I still tried to do it. But I know I heard stories you still be getting into people and D'ing them up full court, according to Tristan. He's like, oh, he picking me up full court. So you got the luxury, you can still ball. So I'm not in that space. But yeah, no, I remember you coming on and being a walk-on, being what we call the Gray team. Like it wasn't easy because we were beating up on you guys. Like basically you were, you know, practice dummies for us and for lack of a better term, but we had some talented kids. I'm talking like I'm old, which I am, but you know, we had some talented guys on that team where a number of you probably could have played Division I somewhere else and got minutes. So like, don't get it twisted. You guys were good and you would give it to us some days, but what was the worst part of being a Gray teamer? Obviously you saw the best part of it too, but like those first couple years, like how did you feel about being on the Gray team?
So it was two different phases. My first phase was when I made it, I was I was really happy to be there. Because like I said before, I thought it was over. Basketball organized was over. So I was really, really happy to be there. So after a while, I grew a little bit in college. I grew a couple inches. I put on about 25 pounds. I never lifted before until I got to Iowa. Yeah. Because our coach wouldn't let us lift in high school. So I put on a little weight. I got a little taller. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I can play with these guys. Yeah. Because when I got there, I wasn't ready. I was talented, but you guys were way, I was nowhere near your level. You guys were way better. I wasn't ready. But I got to a point where I was ready and I wasn't happy to be there, and frustration started just set in. Yeah. And it didn't matter if the frustration set in because you're not going to play anyway. Right. No lie, Kenyon. I forget which walk-on it was. He was a veteran walk-on. He said, he would put Russ Millard at the point guard before he played you. He told me that. And that was the walk-on's mentality is, dude, you're not Kenyon. It was days I was on the bench of a game with no uniform under my walk-on. For real? So how do you think you getting out? I got my practice jersey on under my warm-up.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So even if we blow the team out by 30, I'm still not getting in. Yeah.
That's
you
funny.
probably didn't know that.
I did not know that.
Well, you didn't know that because we were in a separate locker room.
Oh, that's true too. Did you? Yeah, that is.
So think about that.
Where were you at? Where was that locker room? It
was like kind of like it was right down the hall from the regular locker room. It was kind of like a bathroom.
Yeah, I remember.
And so that's the hard part. One, it was a separation. Yeah, like you're different from these guys. Right. You're different, and you get beat up on every day. Yeah. And here's another thing, Kenyon. Because it's a great team, it was guys that rode the bench in practice.
That's true.
Think about that.
We were deep. Like,
yes.
I think at one point, did we have at least like 8 or 9 people?
Great teamers?
Yeah.
Kenyon, I bet it was 15 when I got there. And it starts to tailor off.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It was a lot of guys. It was a lot.
So you're fighting for time in practice. Think about that.
That's crazy.
So, and that's another reason why I had to bring it. I had to bring it. Because I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be here and ride the bench in practice. Right. I mean, it's already.
Yeah.
I got low pride.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, man. Yeah. And that's what's interesting is like now you see like, there's 1 or 2 walk-ons or something like that on the roster.
Exactly.
But yeah, no. But so tell me about, I'm going to go back to this because I remember you were with us when my senior year, we were in Alaska, Great Alaska Shootout. Yep. So we made a pretty good run.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I remember, I don't know why this is in my head. Maybe because I kind of watched some clips the other day, but Kingsbury went bananas against UConn.
Yeah, Ray Allen.
Yeah, and I remember like when we beat them, like you were the one person like I remember seeing like raising your hands, like like it would. But that's how But at that point in time, like you'd been there a couple years, and you were part of our team. Like we knew like you were one of the best players in the gym all the time. But I think, Coach did a good job rewarding you guys, like when you played well and stuff like that. But
he did.
But so tell me about your first time you got thrown into the fire. Maui, I think your junior year, right?
Yep.
Junior year, Maui, players hurt, players sick. And what was that feeling when Coach Davis was like, yo, you're going in? Because did you start that game? Did you start?
No, I started the next
game. The next game, okay.
Because Jess ended up getting hurt in that game.
I think that was against Cal, right?
Yes.
Yeah, against Cal. Yeah.
I never played in the first half.
Oh. So, yeah.
So, what I say outside before we started, that I was meant to be here?
Yeah.
So, I'm the last guy to make the Maui trip, right?
Yeah.
And we get there, so because the locker rooms are so small, you remember, we had to get dressed at the hotel.
Right. Yep.
And so we go down to the hotel and we meet in the room that we're supposed to meet. And then Bowen and McCausland both get this freak heart deal. I have no idea. Yeah. So they can't even go to the game.
Oh, wow.
No, they didn't even go. So we're down 2 starters there.
Yeah.
First half, Settles gets hurt. So I guess I was the only one left, King. So I got in, King, and I've never played in the first half. Dude, I was nervous.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was nervous, but like I say all the time, defense and effort those are controllable.
Yeah.
And that's all I was thinking about. Control your effort and control, what you do on defense. Because obviously my job is not to go in there and score a lot of points.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was...
Neither was mine because of who I played with. So.
Well, I had to wait for you to leave anyway, so I didn't have a chance anyway.
Oh, shoot.
No, but I never played in the first half. And I started out I had a pretty good game.
Yeah. I was looking it up. You did. You played well, man. So a little nerves. But then the next game you start.
Yeah, I did. I started, and I'm gonna tell you what. Like, Andre Woolridge helped me out a lot because Andre and I, always been good friends. When he redshirted and I was a walk-on, we spent a lot of time together working out, and he really helped me get through that process of trying to fix because it's a totally different mentality. When you're playing and when you're starting. And Kenyon, I did my first interview after a game, my first post-game interview.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I'm getting my first minutes. Why am I up here at the podium?
Yeah.
So I think I was more nervous then
than actually going to the game.
Actually going to the game. Like, what do I say?
Yeah.
So, but it was cool though.
Yeah. No, and but here's the thing too. We always tell players, as a coach and as a trainer, like you always have to be prepared, right?
Yep.
We say, I'm not really sure where this quote came from. It says, stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Exactly.
And because of your mentality of fighting for minutes in practice, right? To make sure that you are always out there, to now you're thrust into this role of starter. Like that's the epitome of that.
So the crazy thing is, even though everybody thought, you would never play. That never resonated with me.
Right.
I always thought I had a chance to play.
Yeah.
I always thought I had the chance to play, whether it happened or not. I don't know. I thought it into existence, but I just always felt that it would be a chance. And I'm looking at the time. If I get in with 2 minutes left, I'm in there. I'm trying to get a dunk. Where everybody's trying to pass the ball around, and now I'm trying to get it. And I got dunks as a walk on, which is crazy.
Like that's where I'm going.
That's where I'm going. So I always thought I would have a chance, but I didn't know I would actually get a chance.
Yeah. And you were key that year, and then obviously going into finishing up that year, you were able to earn a scholarship. So how did that happen? Like, how did coach tell you, and what did you feel once you got awarded the scholarship? So
that's another story. So part of the thing, let me go back real quick. When I started playing in Maui, I didn't have my name on my jersey.
Right. Yeah.
They were like, who is this kid?
Right.
Who is this kid? So 4 guys and an unknown.
Yeah.
An unknown guy, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I had a good year that year, and Coach Davis came in mid-year or something like that, and was like, he pulled me and another guy in there. He said, okay, I got a scholarship. I can give it to one of you guys now, and then the other guy the next year. And when he talked to me, he said, and I know it's a cliche term, but I never heard it before. He told me, he said, a bird in the hand beats 2 in the bush. I never heard that as a kid. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? I said, Coach Davis, what's
Coach
that?
Davis isms.
At that point in my life, I never heard it.
Yeah.
Basically, he was telling me to take it now.
Yeah.
So I took it. And then next year, I ended up getting it again.
Yeah.
So it was good to take that bird in the hand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, he just pulled me to the side and was like, hey, here's the opportunity. And I couldn't wait to call home.
Yeah.
Absolutely couldn't wait to call home. I'm like, man, I get geared now. I get to go to training table. Like,
yeah. The little things. Like
the little thing. I get, I was already in the locker room. Even as in a walk-on, I eventually made it to the locker room. But that was a goal too, Kenyon.
Yeah.
Even to get in the locker room.
That's crazy, man. and I think back, like, I know, like, there's been a lot of things that's changed in my life. And I know sometimes it's like, you're so oblivious to all this other stuff going on, because we're in our own world. And that was part of it, like really not understanding what you guys went through as, great team members. But the fact was you guys brought it every day. Like that's the one thing that I can always say is like whoever was on the team, whether they were active in practice or not, like you guys made us better every day. And that was definitely appreciative. And obviously, Coach, people ask me what kind of person he is, and I think, was he always the hardest on us? Probably not, you know what I mean? But I think he always had a pulse of the team, because I talked about how he got us through the Chris Street accident, And I don't know if anybody else could do that, but I felt like Coach always had a good pulse on the team and yeah, just try to connect with us in different ways.
I tell people Coach Davis is a very intelligent guy.
Yes.
So he's not the screamer or the yeller or the cursor. I think I might heard him curse one time.
No, his curse word was the P word, and his voice would go about 10 octaves higher. It's like, you guys are a bunch of... Oh, my gosh.
And so, I know, yeah, he would, wouldn't he? Yeah. And so that's the thing. He was so intelligent. He knew how to get through guys and get the most out of guys, probably more than probably a lot of people would.
Yeah.
Psychologically.
Absolutely.
I think that's why practice was so hard, because he knew how to get out of most people more than they could get out on their own.
Yeah. And I think he made us grow, because like you realize, like when Coach was here, like conditioning wasn't mandatory.
Nope.
And I remember coming in my sophomore year, and I was like, because I was asking somebody, what are we doing for conditioning? It's like, oh, we don't condition. So I remember going in the coach's office for my preseason meeting. I was like, Coach, like we got to make conditioning, mandatory. He's like, no. He goes, Kenyon, if you want to be a good player, great player, then you'll do the work to get you there. I'm the coach. Like I coach this team. I put us in an offense and the defense, but if you want to reach that level, like you have to put in the time. And I was like,
see, stuff like that is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, right. That totally makes sense, because I remember freshman year, like it was like, and you probably saw it too, first day of practice as a great team or two, we jumped right into the press.
Oh my goodness.
It's like, if you ain't in shape,
I went right to bed. After those first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I didn't wake up until practice again. Because it wore you out right away. He jumped right into it.
Yeah.
And he told me, so what I remember from the conditioning part, from what he was saying, is like we get our conditioning in practice.
Yeah.
Is what. So it's funny, because as we coach, I coach the same way.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, well, I'm not just gonna run them for the sake of running.
Yep.
We're going to get our conditioning in practice. And that's the way he did it. And guess what I did after practice, Kenyon?
What's that?
I ran the stairs at Carver.
Oh, dude. People don't know about that one. They do not know about run. Oh, my gosh. That was the worst. But at least we didn't have it as bad as the wrestlers. They used to carry a wrestler of the similar weight up the stairs.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah, dude.
Unbelievable.
Well, we know they're a different breed.
Yeah.
But, oh, my gosh. Yeah. That's crazy. But, no, you're so right about Coach Davis. So your legacy, I think, is in this community. You mentioned it too, like you're coaching kids, you're training kids. So everybody, your number was 45. So you have your own facility, your own training program, Court 45. Like, how did that come about? Because you and I both were in the medical sales field, and you did that for a long time. You were very successful in that. So what made you want to start Court 45?
So for me, it came down to what my passion was. So even though I was in the medical field for a long time, after a while I started to realize I liked it. It was good to me. It was good to me and my family. The industry was good, and I was good at it. But it came down to, okay, what's my passion? And at the same time, I was coaching. I coach my kids, and you know how it is.
Yeah.
And a few people started asking me, hey, do you train? Because I was developing some teams. I took a couple teams from not good to.
Yeah.
And so it was like, do you train? I was like, no, but I'll train your kid.
Yeah.
And it really just kind of started that way. And I started to like it. And then I was like, well, I'm getting kind of tired of this corporate thing. And it was really more of a passion thing.
Yeah.
And then I realized that I could make a living doing it. And then I was working my corporate job. And right after that, I was putting in some long days.
Yeah.
And I was going right to training. And so then I was able to make the transition. But it was more following my passion. I wish I would have found it earlier, but I don't know if I would have had, the business acumen.
Right.
I mean, being in the medical field really taught me how to run a business.
Yeah. Yep.
And treat customers and talk to, take care of your people. So that's really how the transition happened. It's not something that I was thinking about my entire life. It just happened one day, Kenyon. I was like, hey, this is a thing. And 45 took a life of his own. Kenyon, that wasn't my number. It was a walk-on number.
Yeah, right.
It was a walk-on number that we rotated.
Yeah.
And when I was able to choose my own number, I just kept it.
Yeah.
I kept it, and people started calling me 45, and it just kind of took a life of its own. So like, and when I started, I didn't want my name to be behind, even though I want my name to be behind it. I wanted it, like we talk about, more than basketball.
Right.
I wanted to be bigger than me, even though it says 45, but I just wanted to be this place that's not Darryl.
Right. Right. Yeah. And you've done a good job because you brought in other trainers. Obviously, we know Trishan who's now the player development coach for Iowa. He was training with you as well, but you really have grown it. I mean, it was, you started training at, North Liberty, you're in the gyms, North Liberty Rec Center and things like that. And now you got your own building and maybe someday a bigger one. But, like right now, like how many kids do you think, let's say, that you're training or come through your doors?
So as a cycle, obviously not all that. King, we got hundreds. We literally have hundreds of kids that come through there between lessons, camps, and teams.
Yeah,
it's hard to count.
That's crazy.
It really is, and we stay busy. People talk about the cycles of the season cycle, and basically what cycles is the kids that we see. Because some kids, a lot of kids play different sports.
Yeah.
But we stay pretty steady throughout the year, and it's been a blessing to have guys like Tristan and Barry and Cam because they have the same philosophy that I have, just in terms of taking care of the kids.
Yeah,
that's really what it comes. King, I took a pay cut to do this. I'm not doing this for the money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Obviously, I have to pay my bills, but I do this because that's my passion. And honestly, my whole life, I never knew what my passion was.
Yeah, and
now that I know what it is, I can proudly say I'm good at this.
Yeah.
I am. It's my calling. And now that I understand that, I'm like, I want people to find their calling because nobody can tell me different that I'm not good at this.
Yeah. No, and you're absolutely right, because that passion part, like I used to tell Michelle, like I same thing. I had success in the medical field, in the corporate world. But I was like always saying, like, this isn't my passion. This isn't my passion. Like, and I think that hampered me probably from moving ahead faster in the corporate world. But once I embraced the fact that, because I was like, I'm supposed to be a coach.
Yep.
What I had to embrace is the fact that coaching isn't always on the basketball floor. Coaching can be in the corporate world. It can be with your teammates. And once I embraced that, like, my career took off, and I became a regional manager at Henry Schein and all this kind of stuff. And, but I think, like you were saying, things come in stages, and you said, maybe I wouldn't have been ready to jump into this, if I had done it prior. I also say the same thing. I look at mine as like Chris and Keegan, like I was able to be there for them to help them to get to the point they are now.
Exactly.
And so I just look at like God had me where I needed to be at that time. It may not have always sat well with Michelle, which I know that for sure, but it was where I needed to be in order to be there for my kids and those kind of things. So I love that. And your passion is growing into, like you said, hundreds of kids and families. And yeah, man, I couldn't be prouder of you, with that. So it's great. But you're a family man. I got to get into this a little bit too, because you pledged a frat when you were in college.
Yep.
I didn't. And I had people, and I don't know if you talked to me. I know J-Mo talked to me about it a couple times, but I always felt like, man, I'm so busy. Like the basketball team is my frat. So how was that coupled with, okay, not only you going to school, you're a walk-on, and now you're pledging. Like, what was the draw to that, and what has being in your fraternity meant to you over all these years?
Yeah, so my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi Incorporated, is a fraternity that I joined when I was in college, and it's another one of those things that I didn't know much about in high school, because I grew up, nobody really went to college.
Yeah,
so I didn't understand that part of it. But when I got here, I started to interact with a lot of those guys, and basically that's really what it come down to, because I really didn't have a goal to do that, but I'm glad I did it. The interesting thing is, doing it at the same time as like basketball and being a student, it made me really prioritize my time. So you look at it, like I was really busy, Kenyon. I was busy, and maybe that's the way I operate now, because I operated better when I was busy. you know, because my time was more scheduled and it was less time to procrastinate.
Yeah.
So one thing that did for me, going through that time where I had to manage my time and I was really busy, so it was exhausting both mentally and physically, and I'm trying to play basketball. That's why after I finished that process in school and everything, Keenan, I literally said there's nothing that I can do.
Yeah.
Because being tired is not, like, I don't even know if I've ever said that. Oh, I'm too tired to do this.
Yeah.
Because of the schedule that I've had to do, I've went on 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Right. So when somebody says I'm tired, like, I'm like, okay. and you will never hear me say that. So if I'm there, you're going to get the full Darryl.
Yeah.
As much as I can get. So as far as the fraternity goes afterwards, it's just the lifelong bond that we have. So obviously we do a lot of community service and things like that, but you can get that in a bunch of different ways.
Right.
So the lifelong bond that I have with our fraternity brothers has been probably more of a blessing now than it was when I was in college.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and I tell people, it's not for everybody. It's not something that, I don't know if it's a personality thing. I don't really know what it is. I always say this, my brother couldn't have done it. Because he was like, he wouldn't have been interested.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just how it breaks down. Some people are interested in that stuff and some people aren't. And that's just the way it is really with anything. But I tell you what, it's really made me understand the limits that I can do in terms of getting things accomplished.
Yeah.
And just in terms of like relationship building and networking. That's probably been one of the biggest things for me.
Yeah. I think it's, you know, there's so many positives that do come out of it. I think when you talk about, you know, meaning more to you now than it did in college, I think one thing we have to realize is sometimes that, I mean, your circle of friends is going to change, depending on how, you know, what your kids are doing and, you know, that kind of stuff. But I think, like you said, you have a bond with people that have gone through the same thing you did in order to be a part of the fraternity. But then too, you can pull on the life experiences of all of your brothers too.
Exactly.
And, you know, we need that. And I think as I look at it, probably fraternity brothers probably might be a little bit more open and vulnerable with each other than say Joe Schmo, like I'm friends with this guy down the street. I'm not going to do that, but you're able to share those experiences. And I think that's a cool thing too, because I think more men need to be vulnerable and be willing to have different conversations with other men because we bottle stuff up. Like that's just what we do. Yep.
So that's probably one of the biggest things that I get now is those crucial or vulnerable conversations that I have. And maybe because we're older, we're more open to having those conversations. But that's one of the biggest things now is being more vulnerable and open and honest and getting to know each other better. You know, Andre Ward's, we're in the same. Andre Ward's is in a fraternity, our fraternity as well. And that was part of, you know, we talked about when he was red shirting and I was a walk on. We spent a lot of time together. And he was one of the reasons why I joined the fraternity too. I was like, oh, Dre? You know what I mean? And so, like I said, I had no prior knowledge. But once I saw Dre and a couple other guys, I'm like, oh, this might be for me. So that's kind of how I became interested. But it's one of the best decisions I've ever made because I learned so much about myself.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. It's awesome. And I think never to get lost in everything that we do as our family. And you are a family man. But you got you at six kids. You got 2 grandkids. That's what I want to ask about because I'm about to become a grandfather too. So congrats. Demetrius and Maddie are due in January.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
Yeah. So, I mean, how does it feel? Because I mean, we look, you know, like we're still young. Exactly. You're still young, but you know, but you're a grandpa. So, I mean, when you found out you were becoming a grandpa, like, I mean, just kind of take us through the emotions and what you felt.
I would tell you what, it was the weirdest feeling that it was weird because like you said, I'm too young for this.
Yeah.
So for me, honestly, it wasn't an exciting feeling. I'm like, oh shucks,
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't sound right.
Right.
You know what I mean? It didn't sound right. But once I got it under me, I'm like, oh my goodness, man, this is the most exciting thing ever.
Yeah.
King, dude, you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
You're gonna absolutely love it. But, I mean, if anybody knows me, they know that being a dad is it's my greatest joy. It's the best thing that I've ever done. It's the thing that I get the most joy out of. having a grandbaby is kind of like starting that over.
Yeah.
Because once they get old teenagers, they don't want to be around you. They crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
But then you get to start that over, but then you get to give them back.
No, I know. I love that. I love that. So yeah, dude, that's awesome. So you have KJ and Layla, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Now how old is Layla?
So Layla is 5, or she's about to turn 5.
Yeah.
And she just started, from preschool to kindergarten. I'm a bad grandparent. and KJ is 8 months, almost 9 months, and they're both in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And they are by 2 different daughters, but they just happen to both be in Minneapolis. Yeah. And they are awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, they are like KJ's, he's close to walking, and Layla just knows everything. She's talking, and like it's the best thing. And because we're here in Iowa City and they're in Minneapolis, we try not to go, Shauna says, no longer than 6 weeks without seeing them. So we see them quite a bit, whether we go up there or we meet in Mason City.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I'm telling you, I love it.
That's
absolutely
awesome.
Love it.
That's awesome. Layla looked like she got a little attitude, but she cute as up. She is so
that's
cute.
what helps her get away with it because she's feisty.
Yeah. Oh, she's so cute, man. I saw some pictures on Facebook. She's adorable. So man, like this conversation has been phenomenal. Obviously, our listeners and our viewers will get get to know Darryl Moore a little bit more, but. I want to ask, like, so what does legacy mean to you, right? I think we all have a little bit different, but I guess that's the question. Yeah. Like, what is legacy to you?
So for me, I kind of thought about it a little bit. Actually, I kind of wrote it down a little bit. So for me, and I'm just going to kind of read it. I hate reading stuff when we're having a conversation, but I just want to. So legacy to me is leaving a positive mark and making your loved ones proud of the person you are and the things that you've accomplished. And I think,
amen.
And so I think let's say when I go back home to Chicago, that's a totally different legacy than I have here. When I go back, King and Darryl, they are so proud of me. Mm-hmm. It's the craziest thing. Like, they are so proud of me. And then when I come here, and then, guys like you and, the community, where sometimes you don't know until people say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. You don't really know the mark you leave, the impact you're making. And you've been, obviously we've been talking about that today, and you've been very complimentary. But you really don't know until somebody tells you. Like, I work with all these kids, King.
Yeah.
Teenagers don't talk. Kids don't, but I talk to the parents.
Yeah.
I talk to the community. And so for me, legacy is just leaving that mark in a positive way. And I just want to be, and I wrote this down too. I got a few things. I got 5 down here.
Yeah.
That I want to be remembered by. At least 5.
Okay.
So I want to be known as a good person. I try to be the best person I can be. Yeah. I want to treat people the right way. It doesn't matter who you are. You're going to treat people the way you want to be treated. Okay. I want to be a great father, and hopefully I'm doing a good job at that.
I think you're doing all right, brother. I think you're doing all right.
I want to be known as a hard worker.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to be known as being dependable. I want to know that, hey, if Darryl says he's going to do something, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, he's going to let you know. Right. So I want to be known as being dependable and just being a loyal person. So if I can do those 5 things, then I feel like I can leave a good legacy.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I mean, because you are, and the thing that I go back to with all of that is that was shaped before you came to Iowa. That's you started to forge that at that young age. You didn't know that it would turn into this, but you've been on that path to get here, and the path forward is going to be incredible as well. Because I talk to parents whose kids you train, and I just talked to a family a couple weeks back, and they said that was the best decision we made, was to go and train with Darryl.
Wow.
Even though they're like, basketball is not their main sport, they're like, he has been a godsend. Like the kids, like, they get excited to come work out with you. Cool, and that's what they wanted. Because the one thing that I talk about with Chris and Keegan is they always have balance. In today's age, with most parents believe that their kid's going to be, the next Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan. But the reality is most of them won't. And so, but to have their kids do something, put their heart and soul into it, and then love it more because of the person that is training them, like, I know that's what this family feels about you. And so,
Good.
yeah, if anybody's looking for a great trainer, Court 45, Darryl Moore.
Thank you.
Phenomenal.
That's pretty cool.
So I got a couple rapid fire questions for you. First one, if you need a sweet, something sweet, what is your go-to?
Oh my goodness, Kenny! It's funny that you would ask me that because I don't have a sweet tooth. Can I substitute?
Yeah, you can substitute.
The yellow bag of Lay's potato chips.
Oh, the original,
the plain Jane, Lay's yellow bag.
You probably eat a whole one in one sitting, could you?
I got to put it in a bowl so I don't eat the whole bag.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'm the same way. I just go get chips too and throw them in a bowl and go to town.
I got like 6 bags of chips open in my pantry right now.
Yeah.
Shana hates it.
Oh my gosh, you got the chip clips though?
Well, I break them though. We need some good solid. If anybody there invent a better chip clip.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. All right. I like that. So, chicken, burger, or steak?
Oh, if it's fried chicken wings, yeah, it's chicken all day. But if not, because I don't want to eat that too much, steak.
Okay.
Gotcha. A good New York strip is me all day.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that one. All right, last one. So you're on a deserted island.
Yep.
You can take one person and you can take one thing. What would those be? Or who would it be and what would you bring?
So I would definitely take Shauna. I would take my wife. We actually get along pretty
well. Yeah.
I would take her, and I gotta have music. So whether that's a form of a stereo or headphones, probably stereo if I'm on an island because I want to play it loud.
Gotcha.
I'll take Shauna and I'll take my stereo system.
Oh, that's
unless
awesome.
you was talking about somebody famous.
No, whatever. No, it's all on you, whatever you wanted. So, yeah. I was like, that's a good answer.
And then when she gets mad at me, I just go to the other side of the aisle.
Take the stereo with you.
Take the stereo with me.
Oh, man, that's awesome. So I just want to thank my guy, Darryl Moore, for coming in, for joining me today. I want to leave you with a quote from Shannon Adler. Carve your name on hearts, not tombstones. A legacy is etched into the minds of others and the stories they share about you. Please go to Talk About Network on YouTube, subscribe, give us a like, and you can find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Kenyon Murray. Until next time. This podcast is sponsored by Storyline Multimedia. Storyline is an Iowa City-based media company that specializes in creating high-quality video, photo, and audio productions for local businesses. Not only that, but they also produce a number of podcasts, including this one. So if you're interested in sharing the story of your business with the world, contact them today by visiting StorylineMultimedia.com. And remember, your story matters.